Welcome to the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. I'm Ryan Matthews. The countdown is officially on for the 2026 Winter Leadership Experience. This is an opportunity for young ag professional members to learn how to sharpen their personal and professional skills, network with other leaders in agriculture, and learn how to make a difference within their community, within Farm Bureau, and agriculture. In this episode of the podcast, we'll get a chance to talk with our keynote speaker, Coach Kiah, along with some of our young ag professional committee members and all the work they've done to put this conference together. That's all coming up after this.
At Ag Credit, we've been proudly providing support and financing for agriculture in rural Ohio for generations. As a local farmer-owned cooperative, we value our members and work to supply the best service possible while offering competitive products and solutions. Solutions that support the next generation getting started, ones that help operations grow, and others to aid with transitions. To apply online or find the location nearest you, visit us at agcredit.net. Ag Credit, committed to agriculture, committed to you.
As excitement builds for the 2026 Winter Leadership Experience, we get the chance to sit down and hear from our fantastic keynote speaker, Coach Kiah. Through her personal story and the combination of wit, agriculture, and vulnerability, Coach Kiah will help the audience feel empowered and provide tools to get through life's discomfort. Coach Kiah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I know our young ag professionals are really looking forward to hearing from you at Winter Leadership Experience. Can you give us a little preview of what they can expect from your message and the theme of Grow Through It?
Yes. I don't want to give away too much, but I also think some of the best things that we hear are worth hearing multiple times to really land. So the theme for Grow Through It and what I really am wanting to have the attendees take away from this experience is, first of all, just to be seen and acknowledged for how hard life can be, just being a human can be, and how hard being in the agriculture industry can be. I think that this is not news to anyone, right? We have lots of things outside of our control within the agricultural space, whether you are on the farming production side, whether you're in ag business, or somewhere in between. There are so many hardships that we have to navigate. And this keynote is really about allowing our attendees to feel seen and heard and validated in the aspects of our lives that are difficult, but also offer them some perspective shifts so that they can navigate those difficult places with some more ease by really focusing on our mindset and how we see the obstacles that we undoubtedly face and will continue to face throughout our lives.
I know it's a great message that our young ag professionals are going to get to hear. And I know that even I'm very excited to kind of see more of that in depth as you share your message. Now, you've traveled the world speaking. You have your own podcast and even been featured in many publications. So for those who may be new to your journey, can you share what inspired you to start sharing your own story into a message for others?
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, Ryan, I feel like I fell into this speaking, storytelling aspect of my career by total accident, or maybe we can call it divine intervention, depends on your perspective. But to make a long story short, I am an ag girl, a heart through and through. I grew up on my family's rural cattle ranch in California. So I grew up in the production livestock side of things. And that being said, I grew up in Farm Bureau from a young age. I grew up in lots of different leadership ag organizations from 4-H to FFA and on through college as well. And I think that I was given the gift of gab. I've always been a collector of stories and someone who loves to connect with people. And so I really think I found, or this career found me in a place that I really feel like I can serve in this industry. It's interesting though, looking back on my own childhood, is that I grew up in agriculture and I didn't think that that was where I was going to stay in terms of my career, because while I loved cattle that I grew up around, I loved people more. And I had this conversation with my grandfather years ago before he passed. And I asked him, I said, Grandpa, where do I fit? I don't live in California on the ranch anymore. I traveled around the world. I've lived all over the place, and I landed in Kentucky, which is where I'm based now. So your neighbors to the south. I met a Kentucky farm boy at the Kentucky State Fair, and the rest is history. And I've always felt this, where do I fit in the ag industry if I'm not, feeding the roots that raised me with my boots on the ground at my family's ranch, if I'm not actually in production ag in the same way that I was raised. And my grandpa always told me that maybe the way that I support agriculture is by leaving the roots, by leaving the ranch where I was born and using my voice to tell stories and connect. And so I fell into this side of the agriculture industry that I didn't anticipate happening, which is really not about growing the crops as much or raising the livestock or even in the marketing of the ag products, but more so in the empowering the men and women within our industry to find joy in this messy journey of life and agriculture and everywhere in between. My journey has taken me from California to Europe to back here in Kentucky. This is my second go round here in Kentucky. We had a hot 5 years back at home in California. My husband worked for our local farm bureau there before we landed back here in Louisville, Kentucky. And really, I've found my voice in sharing my story by sharing my own hardships and really just giving words to, I think, a lot of the difficulties that all of us face so that other people can see themselves in my own message and share some of those tools I've learned along the way so that they can leave feeling more empowered than ever to find joy in their messy journey of life as well.
What an incredible mission you're on. To just get to power those in agriculture. And I think especially at the Winter Leadership Experience, those students who are young ag professionals, whether they're going back to the farm or they're trying to find their place in agriculture, I think that will really sit with them. And I'm sure they will feel empowered and ready to take on what journey that might look like. Now, a lot of your story blends agriculture, personal growth, and vulnerability. Why do you think it's so important for people, especially in the ag community, to talk openly about their challenges and self-care?
To be candid, Ryan, I think it's because this is an area that our industry has failed us in a lot of ways in past generations. I think that the agricultural culture that we were raised in, and I'm speaking very generalizing here, I think that we were raised to be tough because we had to be. I grew up in a multi-generational ranch family. I'm the sixth generation to grow up in agriculture in my own family. And it was very much toughen up, rub some dirt in it. If you're crying, I'll give you something to cry about. We had to be resilient. And I think somewhere along the way in past generations, we mistook vulnerability for weakness. And I think that was a disservice to our industry and to our own personal health and mental health overall. And I think that now you see this shift, right? Especially with this next generation of agricultural leaders. I think we've come to realize, hiding the vulnerable parts of ourselves is not strength. It's actually something that can be really corrosive and erode our industry from inside the hearts of those who are leading it. And I think that we're starting to see people step up to the table and be more willing to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm having a hard time. I'm struggling. And I think the fear that keeps a lot of people from raising their hand and say when they're having a hard time is this fear that people are going to judge me for it. If I'm having a hard time, people are going to think that I'm failing, that I'm a fraud, that I'm not doing a good job, that I'm not strong. And I think more often than not, when we raise our hands and say, I'm having a hard time, what we're met with is someone sitting across from us raising their hand and saying, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time too. And there is so much strength and value in realizing that the hard things that we're navigating aren't things that we have to navigate alone. I've done this really powerful activity at events in the past called Stand Up for Your Sister or Stand Up for Your Neighbor. And it's really a place for us to level the room so we can visually see just how many other people in that space are navigating really difficult things personally or professionally. And in a way, there's so much peace in that, peace in knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one dealing with this. Because it's so easy to make assumptions, right? To think that the neighbor farming across the street from you has got it all figured out, to think that the person sitting in the cubicle across from you or the person you saw down at, the local feed store, that everything is good, their life looks perfect on the outset. But the truth is that all of us are navigating something really hard and challenging. And I think the more that we talk about it openly and vulnerably, the more we're met with that supporting community that it takes to navigate and to not have to hold on to so much internalized shame about it because we don't feel like there's a safe space to talk. And so my hope is that even through this keynote, that we can just learn to open the door a little bit, right? I'm not saying we need to dump out all our most vulnerable secrets with every stranger we meet, but I think it's important that we cultivate spaces that are safe for us to say, hey, this is hard, or hey, I've been through that too, and these are some things that helped me, because agriculture is a really difficult industry, right? And being a human is honestly just a really difficult journey in general, no matter what stage of life you're in. And so how can we share that burden of the difficulties together, and how can we support each other and share the tools that help us navigate to get to the other side of it?
I think that's such an incredible explanation of, one, the challenges that farmers and those in agriculture are facing, and kind of talking about the stigma. And I think you hit such a beautiful point that the more we talk about it, the more spaces we create for that vulnerability to happen, the easier it becomes, right? And even as time is going
Absolutely.
on and generations, it's getting easier. And I think you also talk about, how farmers are always helping our neighbors, always helping our communities.
Yes.
Yeah, when a storm hits our neighbor's farm, we are the first ones to go over there and help.
Yeah,
Yeah, and just we need to start doing that with the storms that are going on in our minds, right? And the challenges that our neighbors are
absolutely.
facing. So, another point that I know you talk about is finding joy in the messy, beautiful journey of life. What are some ways you find joy in your own personal life?
This is a great question because I think there's lots of ways that I find joy in big and small ways. And I think that sometimes when we think about like, oh, I need to add some more joy into my life, maybe the first thing that pops into your mind is like, oh, I could use a vacation, which I know is easier said than done for people that are farm, right? It's hard to get away. And yes, joy can be found in vacation or I don't know, an indulgent spa day, or maybe none of those sound joyful to you. But I think what's really important is that we find ways to cultivate joy in our everyday, day-to-day life. It can be so easy to just go through the motions when our days kind of follow the same patterns. We're just getting by, we're getting through it, we're checking off the boxes. And I think that a way that I cultivate more joy in my own life is by finding ways to be more present in the moment. It's so easy to get lost in the to-do list of, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to, we're always thinking about the future, which is not a bad thing in and of itself. But I think sometimes being so future-minded and thinking about what we have to do next, it takes us away from the present moment. And I think for me, a great way for me to tap into joy quickly is simply through gratitude. And I know that we hear this all the time and it's easy to brush it off like, oh yeah, be grateful. But science has shown that it is actually one of the easiest, quickest, simplest, and most proven ways that we can cultivate more happiness in our life is by practicing gratitude. And when I say practice gratitude, it's not just like, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful I have food in the fridge. Yes, those are great things, but like get really granular about it, about like, oh my gosh, man, yesterday, I was having an off day, Ryan, and I grabbed my daughter and the sun was shining and we took off our shoes and we went and sat in the grass and it just gave me so much joy and peace. And that cost me $0. It cost me a little bit of time and it was a way for me to tap back in the present moment. So a great way to foster more joy in the journey, whatever aspect of whatever journey you're on, is finding intentional space throughout your day to really tap into being present in the moment and finding true gratitude.
It's awesome. When you say finding gratitude, what is that? Is it kind of like a verbal thing? You're like, hey, I'm really thankful for this right now. Is it a gratitude journal? How do you express that gratitude?
What I would say is I think it's important for people to figure out which modality of gratitude makes sense for them. Personally, Ryan, I'm a journal girly. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who are like, you will not find me grabbing a journal and a pen to sit down and practice gratitude. And if you are resistant to that, that's okay. There's lots of different ways, right? I think that verbalizing it out loud is great. Grabbing a note in your phone and jotting it down is great. And also it's great to do in community with others. So one of my best friends, the way that she does this is at the end of the day, when they're sitting around the dinner table, they will sit down around their mealtime and they will share gratitude with each other. And when we share gratitude at the end of our day, it actually fires off memory receptors because by nature, humans, we fixate on the negative. It's the way that we keep ourselves safe, right? We're seeking out danger, whether it's actual physical danger or just hard things in our day. It is a normal human thing to focus on the negative. But when we practice on gratitude at the end of the day, we're actually rewiring our brain to lock in the memory of the good things. And so that's beneficial because it shares joy around the table with each other. It cultivates more relationship and community with your family members. And also it's giving your brain a clue of like, hey, let's log the good stuff from today, not just the things that maybe felt really hard. So if you have family that you live with or a friend you can call or someone you can share that gratitude with, and you'd rather verbalize than write it down, that is a great way to do it too.
I really like that idea, right? Not just feeding our stomachs at the dinner table, but also feeding our hearts.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
our mind. Yeah. Now, you've already given us so much great content and already some tips for our listeners. But what's one story or takeaway from your keynote you were most excited to share with our young ag professionals?
I think one of the things I'm most excited to share about is it's called the arrival fallacy. And I'll talk more about it during the keynote. But I want our listeners today to get curious about what I call the lie of once. And I think we all have it in different flavors. And it sounds kind of like, For me and my own personal story, my biggest lie of once that has followed me throughout most of my life is I'll finally be happy once I lose the weight, once I look a certain way. Maybe for you, it's I'll finally be happy once we buy the farm, once we, I don't know, have this many bushel of corn this year. I'll finally be happy once I can leave my off the farm job. I'll finally be happy once we go on vacation, once the kids go get out of the house or whatever the thing is, right? We all have our different lives of once. I'll finally be happier once this happens. I think the term for it is the arrival fallacy, and we'll talk about it in the keynote. But basically, it's the lie we tell ourselves that happiness is on the other side of achieving a certain thing, whether it's losing weight, making money, buying the farm, whatever the thing is. And the truth is that happiness and joy are not on the other side of any circumstances. They're something that's cultivated within us. And so I want our listeners to get curious between now and the keynote. Where do you find yourself saying, I'll finally be happier, I'll finally feel more secure, I'll finally be more confident once this happens? Notice the onces, because a lot of times we are telling ourselves a lie that the way we want to feel is on the other side of this thing happening to happen. So like, our joy is contingent on if this comes to fruition. Our happiness is, our gratitude, our peace is contingent on this thing happening. What we often find is once the thing happens, we're the same person with the same brain, with the same old stories. So we are postponing the feelings that we want to cultivate in our life because we're attaching them to the story that this thing has to happen in order for us to feel this way. So get curious about your lies of once and ask yourself, what is the thing that you're waiting for? Is it to be happier, to feel more gratitude, to find more peace? And instead of waiting for that thing to happen, how can you cultivate that today without the circumstances changing?
That's a great challenge for our listeners to start thinking about, and a great follow-up our young ag professionals are going to have. Coach Kiah is the keynote speaker for the 2026 Winter Leadership Experience. Thanks again for joining us, Coach Kiah.
Thanks, and I can't wait to see you all in person.
Farming and ranching are more than just jobs. They're a way of life, and nobody understands that better than a company that's rooted in agriculture too. We're proud to be the official insurance and financial services provider of select state farm bureaus. We're more than just an insurance company. We're a protection company, driving agricultural efforts that matter to you.
Welcome back to the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. Every January, the Ohio Farm Bureau's Young Ag Professional Committee puts on the Winter Leadership Experience. This is an opportunity for young ag professionals to sharpen their personal and professional skills, network with other agricultural leaders, and learn how they can make a difference in their community, within Farm Bureau, and agriculture. John and Kacy Hummel, chairs of the State Young Ag Professionals Committee, joins us to give us the inside scoop for this year's conference. Thanks for joining, John and Kacy.
Thanks for having us, Ryan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So let's start off. Can you guys just share some of the highlights of Winter Leadership Experience? Anything y'all are looking forward to the most?
Yeah, so there's lots of jam-packed things that we're looking forward to. Entertainment night was the subcommittee I'm on. It's always a good time. Every year it seems like our breakout sessions just continue to strengthen. It just seems like with the diversity on our committee, who's making all the decisions on the breakout sessions, there's something for everybody there. And I don't want to give away too many details. I mean, there'll be lots of literature and information coming out on the breakout sessions and whatnot, and the keynote speakers, but we're just really looking forward to having anybody who's involved in agriculture, who's young, to come and experience the breakout sessions, because that's the meat and potatoes of what we want people there for. Besides the networking, it's really to learn and build on our operations while we're there.
Sounds like we have a great list of things to get done at Winter Leadership Experience and a lot more fun details to come. Now, what advice would you all give to a first-time attendee of Winter Leadership Experience?
Yeah, I would say for a first-time attendee, just looking back at our experience, just having the willingness to connect and network with people. I know John talked about the networking hour, and don't be afraid to ask questions, build those relationships early on and ask questions, introduce yourself, and lead into those relationships that you build and learn from one another. And what better way than to join us at the Winter Leadership Experience, and a lot of exciting opportunities, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
That's some great advice. Now, this theme this year is harvesting new horizons. What does that mean to the two of you? And what do you want young ag professionals to gain from that theme?
So, just in our agriculture industry, harvesting is the fruits of our labor, and so whether you're in production agriculture where you're raising grain like myself, or you're raising livestock, or you're raising produce, or anything like that, the harvest is our bread and butter. It's what we do, and so harvesting your horizon is just basically taking advantage of those opportunities that are put in front of you, and putting them to good use. So I guess a great example of that would be some of the connections you can make at these events. Just speaking from personal experience, the some of the people that I talk to almost every day are people that I've met through our committee and young ag professionals, that I have harvested those horizons and use those relationships, and that all comes from the networking and all the other breakout sessions and stuff. But it just applies to anybody in our industry, that the horizon that is upon us, and you got to harvest that opportunity, and that's what we're going after. It's whether it's a breakout session that hits home to you on some planning for your farm, or it's something on the livestock side of things. It's something on just networking. It's something on meeting with one of the sponsors that's able to help you. Uh, there's just so many opportunities that for young individuals, young people in ag, to come in and really seize the day with everything that's going on at that conference. And so that's what we're trying to drive home, and that's what we're really looking to sell this conference as.
I love that. What a fantastic analogy, right? You're getting to harvest knowledge. You're getting to harvest skills and tools for people to take back to the farm or back to their career, along with getting to harvest relationships. And like you said, those might be everlasting to the people that you get to text every day, or just friends and neighbors down the road. Now, this winter leadership experience is you all getting to wrap up your 2 years of service on the state committee. Can you share a little bit about what the role of winter leadership experience has had during your time?
Yeah. I would say within our time on the committee and just as chairs, I know John's talked about it, but the relationships that we've gained and the lifelong friendships, the connections we've made and the learnings, I know from my perspective, from a leadership development, just the connections I've made and the skill sets that have enabled me in my day-to-day career has been one aspect. Maybe you want to share a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of our baby. I mean, this conference is kind of what we've worked for. We were a big part of planning last year's conference as the younger class, but as the older class, kind of helping that younger class along on our committee. I mean, we've gotten to really shape this into what we wanted and what we think fits the young ag professional group. And so going forward, I mean, it's a huge part of our committee responsibilities is planning this conference. It's most of it, but it's really going to be rewarding to sit back and watch it all happen, because it was rewarding last year, and hopefully it's more rewarding this year, just because we are the older class that's going out. But just watching it all work, and watching everybody who gets to take in everything that's going on, I guess is what it's all about.
Kind of going back to your analogy, it's kind of you harvesting a lot of the work that you all and
Right.
your committee has put in. It sounds like you guys have gained a lot, not just from winter leadership experience itself, but your time on the committee, the relationships you have built. So as you both wrap up your time on the committee, you wrap up your time as chair. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone just starting out their time in the Young Ag Professionals program?
Yeah, as part of a young ag professional, early on, just get involved. I would say lean in, develop those relationships. Don't be afraid to meet people and put yourself out there, ask questions. We're all a passionate group within the agriculture industry. And so I think the more you can engage and have those conversations earlier on, the people you meet earlier, I always, think in my mind, I wish I would have probably put myself out there a little bit more earlier on. But the relationships that we've gained, the people we've met, we've developed a lot of relationships, which we talked about. But don't be afraid to share your story and talk about your passions. And every relationship could lead to a new opportunity. So don't be afraid to meet that new face and put yourself out there.
Yeah, and going, it's not just the committee, it's not just the winter leadership experience. It's the local groups is where it starts. For those who have good local groups and those who have local groups who are up and coming, uh, it's the awards. I went through one of the award processes. It's amazing how many of the people on the committee have been through the award processes, and it really is an experience for somebody to go through and look back at themselves and say, well, we started here, we've ended up here, and we're doing okay. So a plug in for the excellence in ag, the discussion meet, and the outstanding young farmer award, because it's a great program that we support, and that Ohio Farm Bureau feels very passionate about, trying to recognize those individuals who work very hard to get where they're at.
I think both of those were great pieces of advice. And John, like you're saying, there's a lot of opportunities in the Young Ag Professionals program, along with, even just at the local level. And whether it's, you have a great program or it's your chance to kind of build that out. And Kacy, as you're mentioning, just making sure that we're getting to step out and step up even early on and trying to see what all is out there. I'm sure a lot of our Young Ag Professional members, whether it's their first time or they're veterans at this conference, because of the work you all have done and your committee has done, will really get to see the window to all those opportunities and harvest those new horizons. So thank you for all the work you've done and sharing all of your experience. John and Kacy Hummel, chairs of the Young Ag Professionals State Committee. Thanks again, guys, for joining.
Thank you.
Find previous podcasts at ohiofarmbureau.org and search podcasts.